Welcome to Manufacturing Talks with Jim Vinosky. Industry has a million cool stories, and Jim talks to the movers and shakers who are making them happen. Let's dive in.
Well, welcome. We are here with Manufacturing Talks. I'm Jim Vinosky, your host, and we've got a great story for you today. I've got with me Chip Barletto. He is VP at All Metal Recycling. Hello, Chip.
Good morning.
And then I've got Cory Bonnet. He is an oil painter in Pittsburgh and a lot of other stuff too, right, Cory? Welcome.
Yeah, that's right. Hi, Jim. How are you doing?
I'm good. Glad you both could join me. And so for background, this is another story I wrote about for Forbes, and it's just phenomenal. Also a little background, my dad grew up outside Pittsburgh, so I've got a little bit of the, at least by association, steelmaking biz in my blood. And that's what this is all about, right? So just a upfront kind of tip on what we're going to be talking about. It's around steelmaking. It's around patterns that they used years ago, some amazing handcrafting, and just a treasure trove that these guys came across. So just to start then, before we get into that, I want to hear a little bit about your backgrounds, because you guys are both coming at this from a little different perspective. So start with you, Chip. Give me, what you've been all about through your career.
Well, I mean, I started working in steel mills when I was about 10 years old. And when I first went into the mill, with my dad, I just started to look at all the big things that were laying around. And at that time, we were dismantling these mills and taking pieces out. And I, at the end of every day, I would take some kind of artifact home, either an image that I found or a piece of, steam valve or something that, attracted me. And I took it home, put it in the back of the pickup truck. And as the years went by, I mean, I just started to accumulate a lot of stuff. And so my background really exists in steel mills. I mean, I've been working around it my whole entire life. I'm 61 years old now, and I literally have been working in steel mills. I still work in them today. I've been working there for 50 years.
Yeah.
So
with that, with all the accumulation of those artifacts, then you wound up with your own museum in the end, right?
I had a friend of mine who was a blade maker from 84 PA, and he came up to my shop one day, or my scrapyard, and he was looking for certain metals to make his blades. And I would give him different pieces that he would find laying around. And he said to me one day, he said, you got more stuff laying around than they have at Smithsonian. He said, why don't you, you should start your own museum. Well, I didn't really, I didn't think about it too much at that time. But then later on, I said, hey, that's not a bad idea. Why don't I just start a museum? So that's what I did. I said, hey, let's, I think big, and if I could picture it in my mind, I create it. So that's what we did. I started a museum, and spent a lot of money and time on doing that. But it's just something I have a big passion for. I love it. I still collect stuff to this day. So.
Yep. Oh, your phone, your picture just went out. There we go. So actually that's kind of important, because Cory and I, before you got on, we were talking and we're talking about how all these different threads weave together in this story. And so I wanted to make sure we covered that museum background, because it's so important to what we're going to hit on here. So let's swing over to you, Cory. You're an artist, oil painter there in Pittsburgh, and a lot more. Tell us all about where you're coming from.
Yeah, I born and raised in Pittsburgh. I've lived in the West End, in South Hills, North Hills. I've worked in the Strip District, South Side, so I'm real familiar with most of my family either working in the steel mills or in their ancillary industries and supporting mills. Just kind of grew up around it. I've always loved, the visuals of the steel mills. When I'd be driving with my folks to go to the museum here in Pittsburgh, one of the roads on 376, you'd overlook all of J&L Steelworks, and it just would be this, glowing, glooming, gigantic presence that as a kid, you can't help but be awestruck. And I think it's something that just has stuck with me my whole life as I started to, kind of figure out what kind of artist I wanted to be and what things I wanted to create. I did a little while just as marketing and advertising at a few companies. One of them happened to be a specialty building supply company, and they specialized in hardwood plywood and other kinds of wood products. And that led me into this learning about sustainability, which got me into, I achieved a LEED accreditation in sustainable building and design.
All right.
And I started using salvaged materials for all my art projects. So, giant paintings done on pieces from demolished homes, from landmark buildings here in Pittsburgh, like the Civic Arena. It had a stainless steel dome around it. When they demolished that building, I pestered the demolition company for 9 months to give me some of those panels. They finally got sick of hearing from me and relented and gave me what I was asking for. And that's kind of been it. Like Chip, when I get an idea in my head, I have to get it out. It doesn't have to pay. It doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. I get these ideas and I have to execute.
Yeah.
And part of my work is doing stuff that's not practical. I want to make artwork that's inspiring, that when people look at it, they just think to themselves, how did he do this? How did he even move this thing?
Yeah.
And meeting Chip, who the scale of stuff in a steel mill is totally different than anywhere else, than the outside world. And I thought big. And then I met Chip, and when he told me, hey, there's a lot of stuff here. That means something totally different to someone in steel when they say something's big or there's a lot of stuff. I learned that quick.
Yeah.
I learned that really quick.
That's cool. We should have said too, Chip is joining us from an airport in Birmingham. Chip, is that where you are?
Yeah, I'm at the Birmingham International Airport.
So if there's noise and stuff, we'll just have to bear with him. We're glad that he could join us from the road, which is a big part of what you do, right? Getting around all these different places you do recycling.
I'll be in a steel mill today.
Yeah. And so you kind of made the transition to our next topic, which is how did you guys meet then, Cory?
Well, Chip, I post a lot of stuff on social media. I think it's a great tool. It can be used for more than just being divisive.
Yeah, well, heck, it's how we met, right?
Yeah, so if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a small business, even big businesses, you can really connect with people that you normally would not get in front of. And I just love sharing these images I'm creating with people. And, Chip happened upon my page and reached out, wanted to meet, wanted to see. I have a gallery in the Strip District here in Pittsburgh, above Shahade Rugs, which is a whole other story.
Right.
But Chip came in and we talked. He told me about his museum, and we just decided to stay in touch. And one day I got a text from him. It looked just like a pile of wood. And it just said, could you use these? And it was a bunch of broken up foundry patterns from Wemco Steel in Homestead. And again, scale does not translate on a 3-inch screen.
Right.
So I said, sure, yeah, I'll take them. And then when I got to the Homestead Wemco warehouse, realized that the pieces were 12 feet tall, weighed 600 pounds, but I was locked in at that point. So
let's swing over to Chip. So we've jumped ahead a little bit, but so it was kind of out of the blue that you found out about these patterns that you introduced Cory to in such a jarring fashion. So
Well,
tell
I
us
mean,
about that.
I do business with these guys. So when I walk into, even when I go into mills today, I'm always looking for some kind of artifact or somebody that even knows that I collect. They'll give me something or put it away or save it. But when I walked in there that day, I was like, holy mackerel, you guys are, demolishing these big, giant old patterns. And I said, don't do anything else with them. I said, my buddy's an artist. I said, he paints on, all different salvaged stuff. I said, maybe, just maybe he'll want to do something on these. And I didn't really want to see him destroy them anyway,
Right.
So that's what I sent. I took pictures of him, sent him to Cory, piqued his interest. And then, the rest is kind of history.
Well, those
what
patterns,
he's been able to do with them is incredible. So,
and those patterns, Jim, are not the collection that we ended up buying. Those are
Right.
the first introduction I had.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
all patterns then were these broken up garbage kind of things.
Right.
And,
so this just lays the groundwork. We're not even to the main
Yes.
story yet. Yeah. So thanks.
and the crazy thing is Cory and I are like so similar because he was sharing his steel mill art on Facebook, and he knows me. We're friends on Facebook. I'm constantly sharing some kind of steel mill thing on there. Whether people like it or not. I mean, there is a following that we have of guys that do like that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
And but I don't know. I'm just like compelled to do it for some reason. I see an image that I like. I want to share it, and so that's really how we connected, and then we became friends, and it's a beautiful story, really.
Yeah. So then, real quick background. We've talked about the patterns, and for those people who aren't familiar, the pattern is essentially a handmade version of what the finished part is going to be. Correct?
yes.
So if we look behind
ahead,
Cory there, those are some examples, and I actually have some pictures to show here in a bit too. So just so you know what we're talking about, it's these ones we're talking about are handcrafted in wood, and so like that big gear behind Cory there is one of the patterns, and then that is they put sand in around the pattern to create a void that the metal is going to fill eventually, right?
Yes.
So that's one of the processes in casting steel parts. And so, these things are amazing to me. They're just works of art in themselves. And so now,
Absolutely.
Looking at those not broken up ones behind you, Cory,
Right.
that leads to the main part of the story, right? So let's get to the collection.
So, you mentioned Chip had a museum. He told you about his museum. Things are rolling really well all the way up to the end of 2019. I was working on the large pattern pieces that Chip had got me, and it moved into this space. This is my current studio here. So I had enough space to create anything I wanted, any size I wanted, as long as I could carry it up the steps. So I'm on the 5th floor. And Chip called one day, and everything had been shut down. I signed this agreement here March 1st, 2020.
Oh, geez.
Sky was the limit. And a couple months later, Chip and I had both been working through the shutdowns and everything. And he said, I'm going to close the museum. Do you know any place where I can store this stuff? And I was standing in this space. I looked around and it was empty. And I said, I'll ask around. Let me, call you back. And as soon as I hung up, I was like, that was the most selfish thing I could have done. I have all this space. So I called Chip back immediately and said, hey, bring all your stuff here. I have plenty of room. And, he was like, Cory, I don't want to impose on you. I don't want to bring this stuff. I said, just bring it all here. Don't worry about it. And he said, all right, I'll reach out when I'm ready. A few weeks later, he called and said, hey, I'm not quite ready to bring the museum stuff in, but I'm heading to this barn in Rogers, Ohio. you should come with me. There might be a few things you can use.
Yeah,
And I said,
I know where the story goes, so I'm laughing.
it was great. Yeah. And I said, all right, but if I'm going to use some stuff, can I kick in? And, without hesitation, Chip said, let's partner on it. And again, with me not understanding the scale issue here, I said,
Yeah.
all right. And Chip said, there's a lot of stuff. I said, oh, I know. Don't worry about it. I got a lot of space. And he said, no, Cory, there's a lot of stuff.
So let's swing over to Chip. How was it you found out about the barn?
Well, a guy from Youngstown came into my museum in Newcastle, and he lives in Cincinnati. And he was, coming into town. He says, "Hey, can I come and see your?" So he was walking around the museum, and he saw some of the, patterns that I had from years ago. And he said, I know where there's a Barnet in Rogers, Ohio, that has thousands of these pieces in there. I said, you got to be kidding me. I said, no way the collection's that. He goes, I'm telling you. So he gave me the lady's number. And of course, I followed up on it and went and looked at it. But again, like Cory said, COVID hit, and it kind of, just killed the whole deal. I mean, everything went on lockdown. So it sat there for a couple of years. I mean, I really didn't expect it to be there. But the lady, I had told her, I said, she wanted to preserve this guy's legacy of his collection, her husband.
Yep.
And I said, look, I'll promise you that I will put it in one place. I won't repurpose the stuff or, sell it. And she wanted it to go all to one person. Now she had offers of, a person coming and taking a few pieces here and a few pieces there, but she didn't want that. She wanted it to go. And she read about my museum online and read about me. And so she had made a decision way back then that, and we had a verbal agreement, but, I really thought somebody would have come by, but because of COVID and this lady's, being, having a lot of integrity, and she kept her word. And then by that time, Cory and I were doing a few more things together. And so it was kind of easy to present it to him. And like he said already, I don't think he anticipated or expected that it was going to be, I said, when you get there, I'm telling you, your jaw's going to hit the floor.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, okay, all right, but it really is nothing that, even a picture doesn't tell what it's like to walk in there. When we first walked in there, I mean, we would take 4 truckloads out, and it would seem like they were like having baby patterns or something. They were growing.
Yeah, take some out.
I mean,
doesn't look like you moved anything.
It didn't look like we didn't move anything. So
What was actually more frightening was it wasn't that it didn't look like we moved anything. It looked like it multiplied when we come back. From what you remembered moving last time. And
there's more there when you go.
It was demoralizing.
So when
but
you
it was
first,
so exciting.
When you first got to the barn, was it everything that Chip thought it would be, with your jaw hitting the floor?
He told me, he said, you're going to look at this. We're going to go upstairs into this barn. Everything's stored on the second floor of this barn, which is made it real easy
look at it,
to get
then
out.
look at me.
Yeah, he said, you're going to look at this stuff. You're going to look at me. You're going to look at the barn. You're going to look at me. He's like, and you're not going to be able to talk for a little bit, but that's okay. And I went up there, and it was exactly like, I just could not, a lot of people talk a good game. I've known Chip for a while now, and the one thing I can say, emphatically is, if he says something's going to happen or he'll do something, he does it.
Yeah.
And no matter how much it sounds like it could be hyperbole, be prepared, because you're going to get exactly what he says, and it's not an exaggeration. So I was overwhelmed. I mean, it was towering, 12 feet above us, stacked floor to ceiling. It took 2 truckloads to move out just so we could have enough space to stand at the top of the steps.
Yeah. So I'm gonna share my screen here because
Yeah.
I actually have some photos to show. So can you guys see that?
It's there it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is some background. This is Cory with some of his earlier artwork. Some of those big building panels, right? That you talked about at the beginning.
These are the patterns Chip got me from Wemco. The first
Oh,
ones. That he
okay.
picked
So these
up
are the
for
broken
me,
up big patterns you talked about. Yep.
which now have been mounted to bases. So they're freestanding sculptural pieces of art. They stand 12 feet tall, 8
Wow.
feet tall. They're great. They weigh a ton. You know?
Yeah. But
Not
you can certainly
practical.
see the work that Cory does with his painting there on both of those pieces. Phenomenal stuff. So then we jump over, and this is some of what you saw
Yeah.
walking into that
And
barn, right?
the diameter of those circular pieces are probably around 3 feet to 4 feet. I mean, they're big molds.
Yeah. And you can kind of get a sense for what you said about having to move stuff out just to be able to even stand.
Yeah.
Because look at how that stuff is just jammed in there. And like you say, I'm sure this is doing no justice, but at least people out there who are watching the video, those of you who are catching this on the podcast, go to, is it patternsofmeaning.org? Where
Yes.
you guys are? Yeah, or
Yeah.
look up my Forbes article, which was also about patterns of meaning. You can search my name with that title and you'll turn it up. There's more pictures at both of those places. But the other piece too is beyond the patterns, you also got a whole bunch of these too, right? Drawings.
Thousands of blueprints and drawings. That one in the picture is showing the boiler room at Briar Hill Works for Youngstown Sheet and Tube.
Amazing.
We thought that maybe the drawings were going to match up with each pattern, and what it appears to be is that there are multiple patterns included in all of the drawings.
Oh, okay.
That are showing the blueprints for the creation of Briar Hill Works in Youngstown, Ohio. So
that's cool.
we have prints of the boiler rooms, the power station, the powerhouse.
Yeah.
I think they date from late 1800s to probably run all the way up to 1961. I think is the oldest I've seen, but I've only gone through a couple piles. There's just too
and
many.
you've got thousands and thousands and thousands of these to go through, right?
Yes.
But you got all those with the patterns. Here's another shot of the barn.
There's the barn.
Probably after you cleared some out, right?
That's probably about 5 truckloads have been taken out. I can tell because looking straight to the back, there's not stuff piled up against that wall, and you can walk between stuff. There's like that little walkway
where you couldn't see to the back when you first got there.
Correct. And then there's more every time you move one layer. There's a whole nother layer behind it. It's incredible. There's stuff in the rafters that we still have not brought down. It's overwhelming. We have probably 4 more truckloads to move out of there.
Yeah, incredible. And so then we'll get to you bringing it to your space, but here's a couple pictures just showing the displays that you're putting together.
Yeah.
And so what would the diameter of these be? I mean, you can kind of see the scale of the stairs, but.
Well, one of them, you can see the wheel behind. Well, you're on the picture. So the bottom one, I'd say 6 feet diameter.
Wow. Yeah.
So that would be, all of those large wheels, those gears are about 6 feet. Those pillars, I don't know what else to call them, that we kind of put up to the beams. They're about 7 feet tall, 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just massive stuff. We had to move everything by hand down the steps at the barn.
Yeah.
Load it to trucks and
I like with your display how you kind of got a little bit of the mood of the barn itself with stuff stashed up under the stairs there. A little taste of what you saw.
We brought in a group of people to work on this project, friends I've known for decades, some artists in the area, and a friend of mine who's a designer. and she flew in from San Diego, was so intrigued by what we had,
Wow.
and really helped us set up this show. And her whole purpose was, you have to make it overwhelming so people understand what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a close up of a couple of those wheels, and then I did want to show this because this is another piece you're doing, right, where you're painting on some of the patterns.
yeah, so that would be, from the Patterns of Meaning collection. This is a core box, which is a small, they'd be used to create a void in a pattern cast. And we have thousands of these small box pieces. So, the only reason that they sold the collection to us, as Chip was saying, is that we have no intention of breaking it up.
Right.
The value of it is its completeness, how,
Yeah.
unbelievable this full collection is. We're probably the only two crazy people that would agree to buy it and then not want to sell any of it. But
Yeah.
we need to figure out a way to make it sustainable. So I'm sitting at a table, I was telling you earlier, I mean, there's just thousands of these little core boxes.
Yeah.
They're behind me. We have truckloads of them to go at the barn.
She should have been on top.
And the idea is, a few of these pieces with some paintings in them that people can see as as a gift for contributions to help support the collection
Right.
until we get it self-sustainable, which is we're getting there to make this whole thing self-sustaining, which is the goal. So
Yeah.
that
So let's talk about you did kind of an introductory show, right?
yeah. So all this stuff, we didn't start moving things until middle of June of this year. And then we had, once we got, I think we have 17,000 square feet of space at this building I'm in filled with this stuff.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's a lot. Chip and I looked at each other and thought, we better start getting people involved with this. So we had a big show in October. Chip, do you want to talk about the show?
No, go ahead. You sound good.
All right. So it was a mix of the artwork I make and just displaying all of the patterns. And again, my friend Angela Nera, who's this designer, helped us kind of walk people through this collection just to make people overwhelmed. And I can tell you, everyone walked around. We had it on 3 floors and in a gymnasium full of this stuff. And the people looked shell-shocked by the amount of stuff that we had. There was, eyes glazed over, smiles on their faces, and just, what are you guys going to do with all this stuff? And that's the fun part, is there's so much that we can do with this stuff.
Yeah. So where do you go from here? Is it a standing exhibit? Other things in the works?
Well, so we have an exhibit here that's, anyone can come and visit by appointment. It's in my 5th floor studio, the gymnasium, stored on the 2nd floor of this building. They can get a tour and kind of see what we're working on. We've started, as you've seen, just a few paintings that we're going to use some of the lesser pieces for. And then we've started to cast new objects out of these patterns, but not so far, not in steel. We're going to do some in glass, in porcelain, and create some architectural elements, for designers and builders to use in their projects. And I'm talking right now with a company that works in polymers and plastics. And the hope is to do these larger gears in translucent and, custom colors, tie them together to create giant chandeliers or other like architectural design elements for new projects. So if you have a brand new building or a adaptive reuse building, but you want to add these elements of history to it and this industrial look, well, we can do it with a lightweight polymer that can transform the whole feel of the space.
Very cool.
Yeah. Did I forget anything?
Cory,
Chip?
tell them about the show coming up in May. It's going to coincide with the
Yeah.
Another show.
the AIST convention. The Association of Iron and Steel Technologies having a convention in May, and then we rented space in there, a big space, to present these pieces and Cory's artwork and these artifacts in this space, and then also have the people that are going to the steel mill convention, the steel convention, come over to the exhibit. So we're going to tie it into that whole convention, which is, is all about steel.
Yeah. Is that there in Pittsburgh?
Yes. So again, it's all been this. I keep the phrase that keeps popping in my head is confluence of circumstance.
Yeah, the weaving together we talked about.
It's incredible. And it's the more people we get involved, the more this seems to happen. And a huge part of that is like Chip's attitudes towards things, which is just this open, yeah, let's do it. So the Association for Iron and Steel Technology is hosting their largest conference, I think, in North America, maybe this hemisphere, for steel manufacturing and industries, at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center, which is a quarter of a mile away from my studio where this whole project is housed.
They come from all over the world, Cory.
I know, it's incredible.
That's a big deal.
And it's this May in our backyard.
Nice.
We got a double booth for the actual trade show, which I'm sure we're not going to be a typical trade show booth.
Right.
I think we'll draw some interest there.
Yep.
And then offer, we're going to have events here at the building throughout that week to bring people in to show them what we're up to. The steel industry is a very tight-knit group. If you love steel, you love steel. And it's really exciting to see the support we're getting from steel manufacturers and other related industries for this project. It's a lot. I mean,
Nice.
You can see this is a small part of what we have here, and it takes up a good portion of a 10,000 square foot studio.
Yep.
And
it's exciting.
The blueprints. Yeah, it's really, again, the timing. All the shutdowns and everything gave us enough time to really just work on what we wanted to, and it seems like it got things set up, ready to roll.
Yep. So you're ready to move on these kinds of opportunities now.
Yeah, it's been incredible. It was like a timeout to get prepared for this big opportunity here.
Oh yeah, and move many truckloads of patterns
with
across
nothing.
miles.
And it was, hey, can you do it this day? And it's like, well, yeah, there's nothing else happening, right? So, yeah, no appointments or anything like that. So
well, I'm going to share with you. I've been going with my book background since I started my show here some months ago. I'm going to be changing that, and so folks, go to the patternsofmeaning.org website. If you're interested in helping support, you can donate there, and I'm going to do that so that I can get one of your posters. The bookcases are going away. I'm going to put one of your posters back here because I think steel, to me, it's just the quintessential representation of manufacturing. So I'm going to have one of those back there. The other piece that is more for me personally is I'm a heavy metal music fan. So I'm going to have your poster, then you have some heavy metal band artwork up, and that's my new studio coming down the road. So
Nice.
Thanks so
is there
much,
anywhere else
Jim.
folks should go to find out what you guys are up to donate, whatever, to support?
Instagram @patternsofmeaning, Facebook, or you can just look up my name, Cory Bonnet, CoryBonnet. I can send you the links too, Jim. It really, it's so much easier to update social media than it is websites.
Oh yeah.
So LinkedIn, which is where I met you, and I think is an invaluable source for connections. I mean,
absolutely.
I've really had some of the best contacts just from talking to people on LinkedIn, it's not political, and everybody just wants to, there's no zero sum attitude on LinkedIn. Everybody
That's
wants
right.
to see people succeed, and that's what we need more of, for sure.
Definitely. Well, cool. Anything we haven't hit on that we should talk about before we go?
I think you covered a lot.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, it's a phenomenal story. One of my favorite things that I've written about in Forbes.
We got to get you to a steel mill.
I was going to
Cory.
mention that. So I don't even know if you're aware of this, Cory. Chip and I had connected up here just some weeks ago, and I had to admit to him, actually, he told me he was going to a steel mill over on the other side of Michigan from you. And I had to admit, I call myself a manufacturing expert. I've never been to a steel mill. So we got to fix that. So Cory's Chip's going to help me with that one.
I haven't been to one since I was a kid. So
we'll get you guys both in there.
And the other thing I need to do is get myself back to Pittsburgh. I haven't been there in a few years, and come see everything for myself. Because I only work from pictures myself for the article.
Come in May to the event.
Yeah. Come for the conference in May, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
May
Cory will send you
16th
the date.
through the 19th.
Yeah,
I'll
send me that
send you all
info.
the info.
So that's another opportunity for folks out there, manufacturing fans. That's obviously a show that the folks in steel know all about. But if you're not in steel and might want to learn something about it, there's an opportunity. Well, good deal, guys. Chip, Cory, this has been phenomenal. Thank you so much.
Very cool.
Yeah, this has been Manufacturing Talks. And so to find us, we're on YouTube. We're out on all the major podcast outlets. So you can watch the video, you can hear the audio. Definitely the video is more exciting with the pictures. And definitely get out and check out all of us on YouTube. Link to us there. And check out what these guys are up to at patternsofmeaning.org. Thank you
very much. Thank you very much.
Thanks for tuning in to Manufacturing Talks with Jim Vanoski. Watch for new episodes dropping on the first and third Tuesdays of every month.